welcome to Flex and the City.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for coming. It's so exciting to have you guys here, especially at such an exciting time and eventful time for both of the businesses.
So let's just dive straight into the big news. Obviously, Yardi has acquired Hubble. Can you give us sort of the lowdown on why Yardi...
The lowdown?
The lowdown, yeah, on why Yardi acquired a brokerage.
Well, I think, first of all, it's super exciting to be working with Hubble. For us, it's really groundbreaking and it's part of the wider Yardi strategy within FlexSpace. For a while, Yardi's been doing lots and lots of work in FlexSpace. Anant, our CEO, will say, it's still only 2% of our revenue, but 80% of his time is being spent in this space. And one of the reasons is we have on our technology platform over 15 billion square feet of commercial office space.
Wow.
And in reality, we are a software house, we're a software provider, but ultimately that represents a huge opportunity in terms of, I think it's quite clear how work patterns have shifted, how they've changed, and how people find their space. Typically, that's not something that we've been able to do, but our customers, I think, want help in doing that. And so naturally, to have that distribution mechanism is a really, really key part of our business. It's something we've done in residential with Rent Cafe, and that's been super successful. And having met Hubble and really liking the team, and seeing the brilliant work they do, if you could make the numbers work, if you could make it work, then clearly it was a natural fit for us.
Yeah, for sure. And equally so, what would you say, Charlie, makes the Hubble Yardi that right partner to take you guys to the next level?
Yeah, for sure. We were a VC-backed company previously, and we've entertained the idea of acquisitions and mergers over the years, spoke to a lot of different businesses about it. We've never really found the right fit for us. A lot of these were sort of traditional, old-school businesses who were competitors, I guess, of Hubble, trying to sort of hoover us up. But then we started a conversation with Yardi, and it's really clear there's a lot of overlap in terms of our vision for the future of the industry, the tech focus that they have, product development, and sort of the innovation that they're striving to do. So it made a lot of sense for us from that perspective. When we were progressing through the deal, it also became really clear that our company cultures are pretty similar. They're very open internally. They have a lot of open strategy sessions, a lot of trust, and it's just a team of happy, driven, smart people, which kind of we felt really, really fit with Hubble. So it just seemed like the perfect fit for us, really.
Yeah, there's a lovely correlation there, I think.
Yeah, and you touched on it slightly, but I mean, obviously Yardi now have got WeWork under their banner, Hubble now, the strategy being your commitment to the sort of the flex world. Can you touch on that a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the way we work has completely changed. And I think if you look around, if you look out here, you look at the office space that, a lot of it is lying vacant. And the way we work has changed, people hybrid working, and we're going to talk about the survey later. Hybrid working is, it's here to stay. It may slightly change, but it's here to stay. So for us, connecting the space with the demand is really key. Now, I think FlexSpace is slightly behind the curve in other markets where there isn't real-time inventory, there isn't a real-time system that allows someone to go online and book directly that is connected.
Yeah, there isn't.
Without manual updates of systems and things. And I think that's the opportunity we're excited to kind of exploit. That will take time to do.
Of course.
But it's something that, someone said to me, oh, you're going to be like the booking.com of the industry. And I guess that's it, really. Yeah. I think that's the opportunity. And I think the more we can learn from providers like Hubble, from WeWork, from DeskPass, and probably more along the way, then the better place we are to advise our clients the best route for them. I think what I would say to anybody in Flex is come and speak to Yardi, because it is a sizable organisation, but it's one that's investing for the future. 15% of our revenues go back into R&D. That's unheard of in technology.
For sure. If you guys are able to do that, hat goes off to you. Solves everyone's issues. Okay, so what do you think, in your view, what is the future for sort of Hubble under the Yardi banner? What's the relationship going to be? How are you guys going to function?
Yeah, it's quite early to say right now. We're still kind of figuring each other out, where all the sort of pieces of the puzzle fit together. Hubble as a brand is kind of here to stay. We know that already, and the way we're going to operate as a business is going to remain unchanged for the foreseeable future. Really important to say that on the operator side as well. Like the way that we do business with those guys is not going to change at all.
Yeah.
The relationship itself, Yardi have got a massive international presence, loads of like deep knowledge on real estate generally across the world. Hubble, as Justin said, have got really good scope on the brokerage side of things. So we're just kind of learning from each other at the moment. I think we were discussing earlier on today that it normally takes about a year for an acquisition of Yardi's to really sort of find its feet and get rooted and start that sort of expansion. We've got a lot of really cool, interesting product ideas that we're not allowed to talk about.
We tried.
But we're definitely really excited. Like it's going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah. Really
I think that's right, and I think it's as much a learning exercise for us.
Absolutely.
And about the whole industry, what works, and then saying, are there bits of technology that we've done before that we can take, that we can use? Are there resources that we can help Hubble with to help expand their business? So it definitely is very early stages, but it's kind of, we're feeling each other out and learning the ways of each other's business, but with mutual respect. And I think that's really, really key.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of just touched on that, but I was going to press and see, are there any ways that you envisage like Hubble's tech evolving under Yardi more specifically? Because obviously there's this affinity. You guys are quite renowned, I'd say, in the market as a very kind of tech-driven brokerage. Are there any deeper integrations there that you could touch on? Or
Yeah, it's difficult to say. Again, like Yardi's a tech company at heart, right? So we've both got the same vision. We want to do a lot of product development in the market, and we're definitely really excited to do that. I think Yardi as a business obviously is way bigger than Hubble, so there's a lot of new resources unlocked for us. So thinking about how we might deploy that is really interesting. Like there'll definitely be some sort of expansion happening with Hubble, whether that's within our core market in the UK or internationally, like is to be decided. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's hard to say anything.
but actually, I'll expand on it actually, and just with my knowledge of Yardi is that what will happen is there will be deeper integrations. That is a natural.
Sure.
That's a natural course of action. We're always looking for economies of scale across code bases and things like that. So there definitely will be. There are products that we have that I think would fit naturally with deeper integrations with Hubble. So if you take our Yardi Cube platform, well, that would be a natural step to be able to provide those customers direct feeds in. So I think those things are a given. There is a lot of work to do. It's a journey, and I think one of the things that I certainly love about Yardi actually is that everything we do is long term. It's we're not we know where we're going with it, and we won't be hurried by people, and we'll get it right. And I think that's the really important message. And whatever integrations that means along the way, then they'll be assessed and probably delivered. But integrations are part of software.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it feels right to kind of move on to now the report. So you guys, your latest co-branded report, you guys interviewed over 125, I believe, of London's top startup and scale-up founders to assess working habits and whether 2025 is the year that we all get back into the office.
Yeah.
So
we've got some of the results.
Yes.
You have to guess. The results are in. You don't have to guess. I'm not going to test you on your knowledge of the whole report. So the report concluded that 72% of businesses are working hybrid, and it's kind of unravels one of the biggest challenges about how to right size the office in terms of usage, size, spend, etc. What do you think this could mean for flex operators?
For a lot of these businesses, all the ones we surveyed, and in the flex industry, almost all of the businesses that
we deal with, the second biggest expenditure on your sort of billing is going to be your workspace costs after your salaries.
Yeah.
A lot of these businesses during COVID went to fully remote, so had effectively nothing to spend on workspace at that time. What they want to do now is hit this balance of, my team want to meet each other in person, they want to work in the office space, but you also need to balance that with cost. Now, in an ideal world, if you could afford it, you'd have a massive office, everyone has their own dedicated desk, people can come in when they want. It's just not, it's not practical from a cost perspective to do that. So the fit you need to find is balancing that need from your team to work together, but also then having that being cost effective for you as a business.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of how providers need to think about this, it's quite tempting, I think, for a provider to think, I'm just the office component of that hybrid puzzle.
Yeah.
Whereas actually you could be like a really key partner for them in figuring it all out. A lot of the stuff is just down to flexibility, making sure that they know if there's options to move around in your portfolio, smaller, bigger stuff that they can take if they need to. Like the whole purpose of this is they need to figure out what they need. Also making it really clear to them, what kind of on-demand space they have available to, like meeting rooms, event spaces. Everybody's got that sort of stuff typically in their buildings, but make sure they know exactly how to access it, what the costs are, all that sort of stuff. Top tip I would give the providers on this, like one challenge we've had recently, a lot of larger companies are now looking for smaller space and they'll rotate who's in there on any given day. But what they want is access to the building for all of their team members, right? So you want a 20-person office, but you need 40 access cards. We have lost deals where providers have just not been able to or not wanted to give access cards. So they're not saying they need 40 people in the office on the one day, but everyone needs their own card. They can't be swapping cards around.
I can vouch.
Yeah.
I can vouch for that.
For
That
sure,
was a major issue.
It's a really simple thing, but it goes a really long way. You just got to take those little hurdles down.
But I also think it's about like evolving with the times. Like I feel like it goes against everything that operators stand for and issuing like a card per person, but like it just doesn't work anymore. It's not keeping up with, I think, modern day.
I think technology is really at the core of how do you do that and how do you provide greater value to your customers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
for sure.
I think with that as well, for those providers who are not quite there in terms of tech to allow that stuff, you've got to be thinking about how you might bundle those things together. Like, can you give access across your whole portfolio as part of a deal?
Yeah.
So then people can go to a workspace that's like closer to their house. You can sort of build towards having this type of tech that allows you to do it on a really large scale, but there's small steps that you can take to make it easier for these companies who are trying to figure out what they need.
Just to ask you, so you mentioned before, like you actually have lost deals as a result of that, and I actually did as well.
Yeah.
I remember. What are there loads of operators though at the moment that you do think are like keeping up with the times? They are offering those sorts of things, or do you still think they've got a long way to go?
It seems to vary. Like there's a few operators we've dealt with recently who will bundle it into the deal. So normally they would say no, but pushing up the rent, they can do it, or they charge a monthly fee for an extra card. 20 quid a card is kind of pretty standard across a few different operators. But for me, even that is it's a very small amount of money to add an unexpected barrier or hurdle to the deal. I would just say, just allow it. These cards aren't that expensive.
And to the end of the day, I think it's really important as a service because the report shows this is what people want.
Exactly.
Hybrid working is here to stay. So
72%.
come on, operators, get on the program, and
Yeah.
it's what the customers want.
Yeah.
It's not hard to issue access cards, and if it is, you need to look at how to do that better.
You heard it here first from Justin.
I mean, we should probably stress that the tide is turning, right? Because 64% of hybrid founders want their teams to come into the office more, which is amazing news. Are there any other ways that operators can capitalise on this?
Definitely there are. And funnily enough, we're sitting in one today. So, for example, the use of food and beverage across a building is a really important way to encourage people to come in, enjoy the space, and enjoy, I suppose, the more communal spaces. I think the thing that I know in our office that we enjoy most is people like the communal space much more than they like our office, actually.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. I think, food and beverage is really important. The other thing is, I would say that in my experience, if I talk to non-flexible workspace companies, i.e. people who are running commercial office spaces,
Right.
they're pretty much writing off the first floor as
Co-working.
or co-working or a communal space
Yeah.
where there's F&B, there's shops, there's
Yeah,
retail,
yeah.
there's an experience because they know the way to get people up into the upper floors is by having that experience. So, and I think as users, we're all users of space, it's what we want. I think work is better than it's ever been myself. I really think it's fantastic. The blend of flexibility and coming to the office and experiencing wonderful office spaces like this, or other.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other ones too. But so I think keep doing more of that is what I say. But also be aware that commercial real estate will be doing it too. So
Yeah, you've got to keep up.
you've got to keep up.
And I also think, Charlie, this question actually, what you answered before is the answer to the question. It's about the operators can capitalise on that if they're willing to be more flexible and offer things like the access passes, obviously the initiatives that you're mentioning. But I actually think I'm answering the question for you.
Yeah. Well, I think there's another thing to it as well. We're getting this concept coming through of the office being a destination.
Yes.
So it's a place where people are coming to work together, not necessarily like in two desks next to each other, not talking all day, but they're coming to like meet, do in-person stuff. So it's becoming more important than ever for like meeting room space, communal space, to be that kind of cool, like, nice place nice environment to be. You want to come in, something that's better than your home office, like as a base level.
100%.
And then offering those services there. So just being aware that these companies, like they want to have a really cool meeting. They want to do, like have their boardroom calls. They want to have their away days there and they do all these presentations, but they want it to be a really nice space.
Yeah.
So it's more important than ever to think about the community of the individual companies that are within your space and not just making their office box nice. It's like everything else has to be really like fun for them to hang out in, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And then next part. So although as Tiger mentioned, the future is looking slightly more volatile with only half of businesses will be sticking. I think you actually mentioned this before with their current setup in the upcoming 12 months, and the other half is just completely up in the air. What impact do you think the constant sort of chopping and changing will have on the flex market?
I mean, from a broker perspective, I'm hopeful that there's just going to be loads of new leads in the market and it's going to be like glory days.
Amen.
Which would be awesome. I think what's really important is that we're seeing from this survey and in conversations we're having with our customers that people are changing their minds a lot. And they, we talked about a little bit earlier on, finding that fit in terms of the right size.
Yeah.
For brokers, I would say it's really important right now to be doing loads of BD work on your old leads. Like we've actually found a lot of success recently going back to the old leads, especially ones that said they're going to stay remote for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
They said that to us 1, 2, 3 years ago. We're reaching out to them and saying, oh, perfect time, we're thinking about actually getting something small for us. And you're getting them started again and, they might eventually move on to something bigger and bigger. And just sort of like, rejigging or rehashing what you've got in your system, like what you understand about your customers, about what their needs are, because it is all changing. From a provider perspective, I would probably say there's an element of risk here. Like lots of people are looking to move in the very near future, and you really need to be on top of renewals.
Yeah.
Like it's not good enough just to move someone in, set a 9-month calendar invite for yourself to talk about renewals. Like you just can't do that anymore.
No.
You need to make sure that your tenants know like whether or not they can move up and down in size in your portfolio, like all of their renewal details. You'd be so surprised. I mean, other brokers won't be surprised, but providers will. The amount of times that someone reaches out to us is looking for a new space and they don't even know there's a big space available in their own building.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult one in the market to decide whether or not to tell them or not and move them to another. Brokers can decide what they want to do in those situations themselves. But as a provider, you really need to be aware of this. You need to be on top of it. Like you really need to be on top of those guys, because even people who've been in your space for ages might be thinking about moving.
I sit slightly on the outside of the broker side here, and when I speak to operators, this is a real challenge for them.
For sure.
Because it can have the effect of devaluing the market. And if you think around... and that's a real risk, for the operators. And if you think around how you value a flexible workspace company, it's got to be around average lifetime of the customer. And if that is being cut short to 12 months instead of 4 years or 3 years or 7 years or whatever that is, then intrinsically the multiple applied to your business is going to be less. So I think the challenge is on the operator to work out what the best mechanism for renewal is. It's interesting at probably giving away trade secrets at Yardi. Our business model is exactly the same. Right. So you buy some software. We want you to have that software forever. Actually. And our job is to make sure that we keep you using the software. And so for us, it's about new releases. It's about new functions, new features. But it's also about customer relationships and we call it executive reviews. It sounds a bit flash, But we constantly speak and sit down with the boards of our customers to understand what are their growth plans, what challenges are they facing, and by understanding that, it allows us to put in the commercials that will suit them going forward and make them stay.
Yeah.
So I think that onus is got to be on some of the operators, and I think forecasting is such an important part of running a flexible workspace business and modelling those forecasts, because then that allows you to kind of work closely with brokers or with your sales teams to say, look, we have some voids. And I know there's some really smart operators out there, and one in particular that you know, the owner said to me, she said that she doesn't allow companies of a certain size in their buildings because it's too much of a risk.
Really, that's interesting.
Yeah, because they take too much space and it's too much of a risk. So she wants a blend of the right size customers that work for them.
Yeah.
So if a BP come along or something, and they want 100 desks, she will say no.
Wow, that's very interesting.
But I guess that's probably market driven, and you know, but I find it really interesting that that's a discipline that they have within their teams.
Yeah, it's not. That's actually not very common at all. I don't know any
I've never heard
operators
of
that
it.
would say no to an 100 desk inquiry. That's crazy. But yeah, I also find this result kind of shocking because I think people are very lazy.
There's a lot of good deals happening at the moment. So just staying put is like very often not the right deal or the best deal available to you. Like there will be something around the corner that's more cost effective, especially if you're like on a sort of step up agreement and you're going quite low rents to begin with. So I think prices, the market has always been price sensitive, but never more so than right now. And renewal deals, we're not actually seeing discounts being thrown out at renewal deals ever, really. Now, there's always a slight increase that comes along, in some cases massive increases, which are not justified at all. But what we find there is that you come to the end of your sort of minimum term and you're presented with something that says your price is going to go up, you immediately would start looking just to compare, see what's out there.
Yeah.
You know, if you were doing this, I don't know, with a phone contract or something and it was going to go up, you'd have a look.
Comes to mind.
Insurance, you'd look around, you would. So if they presented you with a renewal that was the same rent, you probably wouldn't even think about.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just sign it and off it goes. But even a little bit more, you're like, oh, maybe there is something out there for me.
I mean, we've been talking about forecasting and like the future of flex, but on a more light-hearted note, just reversing, I would need to know, how did you guys seal the deal? How did you celebrate this great partnership? Did you?
Yeah, I mean, it was the end of December. This all sort of got tied up. It was like, I think the 30th of December. Are we allowed to say that?
I don't think it'll be on a bit of paper somewhere.
But it was all like the middle of Christmas and stuff. So we were signing documents and everyone's off. So we didn't have an on-the-day chance to like go and celebrate then. But we've been out for dinners and met the team and stuff. And yeah, we've got like conferences coming up and we're like really, the team is still getting onboarded and like that sort of admin process takes a couple of months, but everyone's really excited about really integrating into the Yardi team. We probably will have a big bash at some point relatively soon.
I think so. I think so because, you know, I mean, we had that lovely dinner and it was nice. Everyone stood up and introduced themselves and it was super nice to hear and hear their experience. And I think one of the things that I found super exciting was the cultural similarities, and a couple of things that jumped out immediately were the length of tenure at Hubble. Yeah. It's something we share at Yardi is people, you know, we've all got tattoos. It's a bit like Yellowstone, you know, so we have a Y here. But actually people in Yardi have been there for a long, long time. And if you look at the average tenure, and it's a sense of real, you know, looking after employees, looking after our customers, those kind of things. And when the Hubble team did the same, that came across loud and clear. You know, I was amazed at the amount of people that had been at Hubble for really a long time. You know, a long time based on the 10-year history of Hubble. So I think that's a really common trait, and it shows. I think it shows a great culture and you know. So I think that's super exciting. So I think maybe in the summer that we'll probably have a...
We're around, by the way.
We'd love to.
We're available if you want to invite us around.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing synergy and I'm really excited for you both.
So yeah, guys, thank you so much for being here and for taking part in this interview. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for some great questions.